Caw, caw. Uh, my voice died. Track here is Sora no Kiseki FC Wandering in the Darkness. Very interesting track. Not sure if it's jazz or what. It feels like jazz. It's like dark jazz or something. It's really mysterious. And also the chords and stuff make it unique, but the chord progression rather. But the accordion when that comes in is just amazing, and then it goes into the chorus later and it's just, yeah. It's an amazing track. I remember when I was listening to all this Falcon Sound Team stuff, even though I was skipping a few songs here and there, I still like the majority of them, and especially the remixes. I'm not sure if this is one. It's hard to say. Again, I'm not familiar with these games, so don't exactly know. But I still really enjoy the soundtracks here. And when there's tracks like this, it's just amazing. And I haven't quite heard a song like this before either, so it's much of a surprise when I first heard it. It's instant love at first hearing. Sure, let's go with that. Yeah, especially love at first hearing, and that's that. Yeah, solidified, and is a song I think about every now and then because it's just again so unique. Anyway, let's move on. Just finished the recent Reckless Ben video, because I'm still trying to be up to date with this, but I will admit there are a few bad points here from Ben. Which I have to admit, there's just one dishonest angle and one very, in my opinion, egotistical. So basically, it's more the same, but he's been arrested again apparently, then released, and then he obviously paid his bond. For some reason, Ammon and what's the other guy's name? Josh, I think Josh didn't agree with the decision here, and basically tried to call the cops on Ben. Unsurprisingly, to be honest, nothing surprises me anymore with these two. Because they're just going to keep doing that until they get what they want. Again, it's like, as Reckless Ben described it, it's the 3-year-old method. Just cry until you get what you want. Shit. But, you know, there are parts of this where I also feel like it's not well delivered in terms of a response. Because, yeah, whilst Bricks and Minifigs are still 100% in the wrong, like, we can't deny that at this point. There's just so much evidence against them for, obviously, the crimes that they're doing here, including attempt to ruin someone's life, which I think definitely warrants them being in prison for life, because I think that's just horrific. You know, the hell you're causing an old man who has lost his Lego collection without being paid for it or compensated, and is now going through anxiety and panic attacks now. You know, again, the damage is just insane, and it's the same for what's happening to Reckless Ben and his team. So again, I think they should be tried for attempts to ruin someone's life, assuming that is a charge and a felony. But that should be life in prison, in my opinion. There's just blatant corruption. They could have done the most obvious and simple thing of just compensating. Brian, yeah, it's just so bad. Anyway, to put 2 points. So the first one is the body cam footage. They immediately cut from like the bathroom to a conversation, and the conversation is where I believe it took a weird turn, because it basically Ammon was saying that him and his team were getting death threats from, well, someone, but they weren't specific who. Ammon wasn't specific on who that was, and neither was Reckless Ben, and wasn't even transparent about it either, which is frustrating. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It just seems a bit weird to me. So, it's very likely that there is an issue there. I'm trying to think, because it has to be to do with the online stuff. Obviously, people take it too far online because they're behind a face of anonymity, supposedly. That's where that happens. It sucks, it happens, though you can't really avoid it. That's not really something against Reckless Ben, it's just something against just the bullshit of society where this shit seems to happen. Again, it's ridiculous. There's a stupid amount of bad stuff on the internet, and that's why it gets out of hand. Yeah, that's like one of the things, and then the other thing is the extra claims or extra rather apologies that I think Reckless Ben is demanding. And this is in regards to the obviously like what needs to happen to make this all better, essentially, for bricks and minifigs, and obviously Ammon stuff. And the first thing suggested before in the previous video is just to do the chicken dots. Like, okay, it's very simple, it's very stupid, but sure. But I think the next demand is very kind of weird. I find it very weird suggestion about renaming the street where Ammon lives to Reckless Ben Street. I'm not sure how you're gonna do that, and that requires the country, or the county, I think, to actually do that, rather than mayor. I think it's a mayor thing. But it's just so bizarre. Like, what a weird claim to rather demand to have. I wouldn't say that's a good thing. In fact, I would have said it was like better to probably rename it something else. Even then, if that were possible, because I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's even a realistic ask. But yeah, I found that a bit bizarre. I wouldn't name it after someone, I think I'd just name it after something related to the situation. Well, there has to be something to do there, but I also feel like it is a form of harassment to an extent. To also say like, obviously saying like Reckless Ben, even though I don't really give a shit about Ammon's feelings at this point, nobody does. Nobody should. But it does feel like a bit too like harassment, and also the neighbours probably as well are probably maybe fed up with Reckless Ben. I could be wrong. It's probably something that's being left out of the video, which I think is important to mention. But you never know. But that was like probably based on the previous claims, obviously. But yeah, either way, it's good that there's an update, but annoying that it's not a good update either, because it's still ongoing. It's just such a tiring conversation. Again, it's so easy to just address this problem now. I'll just nip it in the bud and be done with it. Never have to acknowledge it again. Maybe you have to pay some compensation, but that's it. Yeah, bricks and minifigs just taking all the wrong decisions, and rightfully so, people are against them. And if it happens that we're in the wrong for believing Reckless Ben, then so be it. That's a hill worth dying on, at least, because, if you have to change, then sure, you have to acknowledge that one was in the wrong and the other was in the right at some point. But that's not the reality. At the moment, everything and all the evidence is against bricks and minifigs. And if the lawyer claim is to be believed as well, where they think it's like a clear and cut case, where they can actually claim millions, which is honestly really good, and I imagine Brian would be really happy with that. And yeah, things are going to go positively from here, I think. So yeah, and all the made up crimes and shit, just absolutely ridiculous. Again, Ammon should be tried for life in prison for this. It's not a hard ask. It's literally out there. The body cam footage shows this. It's absurd. Anyway, anything else to add? So let's move on. One of the toughest decisions about this new PC is probably going to be not the RAM, actually it's the CPU. Because I've been thinking, I technically don't have many issues with my performance. The only things I can highlight with my performance at the moment in my current system is when there's a lot of VSTs working, for example, when I'm making music, as it tends to be anyway, it tends to overload a bit. But that's it's worse than when there's a game running unnoticed, and it's not a big deal in a sense, but it does matter in the long run, I think. But when I'm gaming, which is like supposed to be the primary thing I'm doing, and eventually I might get like 4 or 6 hours a day to play games, and don't have that at the moment because of my issues at the current time. But it may end up being the best thing because that changing the CPU could mean I just have a much better time gaming as well. So when I play Final Fantasy XIV, for example, on this system, 5800X and an RTX 3070, 32GB of RAM, it barely runs Final Fantasy XIV at max settings, which in itself is an issue. And I've tackled the idea of, do I want more cores or do I want better gaming performance? And I think gaming performance probably takes priority. Not to mention, it also just has a bit of long-term benefit because I'm not playing games whilst I'm making music, and even then Final Fantasy has the option to lower the FPS. But sometimes I may need to do that, and it's fine. I generally don't see an issue there. But I think I'm sort of overblowing it a bit when it comes to sort of not necessarily price to performance, but the ratio where price inflates because of the core count and stuff. There's about a £38 difference between the 9800X 3D and the what do you call it? The 9900X. And I had considered the 9900X 3D perhaps, but it's much more expensive. And even then, I have to pay more for this, and I will need to do research on that because I actually didn't know it existed. X3D, versus 9800X. But ultimately, it's like, is the price increase worth it here? Something that there's only like videos on fucking 9850X, I think, 3D. What's this game? It's not, for some reason it's not labeled in the game, it looks like Resident Evil. But again, like, do I need to go overboard? No. So, according to these benchmarks, it's not any better, even though it's got better specs. Which is very weird. I wonder if the comments of that is anything. Because AFL 3D cache for 6 cores, and in 9800X have it for all cores, okay. So it's like half and half of the cache, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of weird. But again, this is for like just the basic things I'm doing on here. And the other thing to note is I think it's less of an issue when it comes to, well, blackouts and when we have no electricity, and then it's like, oh, maybe I haven't wasted all my money. I had thought about going down to a 7800X 3D. But it's a bit difficult because, there is no certainty in this current climate. If I believe it's a first world country, I could be wrong. If a first world country can, get drone bombed and stuff and civilians killed, then again, there's not really much point. You'll just waste as much money as you want on a fucking system at this point because nothing will change other than war will change everything. But it will just cause many issues. So you absolutely need to consider these types of specs, I suppose. And even then, like the cooling aspects, like the temperature on the 5800X I'm seeing here, 3D, it seems a bit better than the 9900X, and that's another thing. you don't want to go overboard with it, even though it's an RTX 5090. It's kind of, yeah, the temperature on that is not bad actually. It was actually surprisingly good, given the type of game this is running. Didn't even know this game was on PC. Oh, wait, did I? I can't remember. Ghost of Tsushima. Wasn't that the one that was exclusively Sony? Forza Horizon, I believe this is. Again, temperatures are really good on the CPU and stuff, and this is the other thing. And then, what about reliability? Not 800X 3D reliability, because I need to know these options. Is there any advantage? Is there any issues? I can't see any. Allegedly failing permanently, but I think that was like a motherboard issue. Obviously, it's what I try to look out for. It's like try and make it as long lasting too. So much frustration. I think I'm just gonna have to do the downgrade. You know, the PC is already sort of capable enough. But yeah. Okay, so it's like ASRock. Balls have a biggest failure, and Gigabyte is like 1%. In one case, 1% failure, ASRock 98 with 82% failure, ASUS 16 with 13%, MSI 5 with 4%. It's interesting, no. I mean, it's a 9000 series, not the 98. It's a failure with like X670 boards, 49 and 45%. Oh, that's not good. But X670 is like 7%. I get a bit confused, like, why is it failing anyway? I'm just a bit confused about that. So yeah, I think I'll need to do some asking around again. I think it's just worth it to get this if, 9900X is probably a bit too overboard for some things anyway. The only downside is you high core count for productivity tasks, but if you're doing normal everyday stuff then it should be sufficient. I was wondering that because I have a lot of things open. CPU, let's see what's using it. FL Studio, primary one. So it's not bad, and even this CPU, which is older, is not being used nearly as much, but the RAM is being used much more by my browser, OBS, Cloud, FL Studio. For some reason Discord, even though it's not open. Weird. File Explorer, but why is it even on here, which I would have thought it would have been. Disk usage. Again, there's like not really any usage there. GPU. Just OBS, but it's video encoding. But yeah, it's like, I need to do better research on this. And figure out the things I do and do not need. That way it's just a bit easier. I do think a decent gaming rig would help, I think. Even if again it's sort of a loss, it's like probably my last chance to ever get one anyway. Because of the market, because of the world as it currently stands, yeah. I want this to be worth it essentially. I'll have to go through the fucking trouble of reinstalling everything. But I'm sort of willing to do that. As long as I have my other PC here. So most of the things actually weirdly enough. Never considered that. I think I have somewhere I could put it whilst I do things, so I can actually look at things. Because I have a backup monitor as well. Just an old one. I never really got rid of, which I was planning to. Wouldn't go for anything now these days because it's quite crap. I got this back in like 2017, I think. 4040p was quite a new thing back then, even for those standards. I know that 4K was out. There's even rumours of 8K, but 4040p wasn't as common. But now it won't go for much. It's about the same price as my current monitor. That was back then. Yeah. but I've figured something out, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure exactly. But again, I think it's a somewhat important thing to consider. Anyway, I think I shall move on. Don't really want to be doing a topic today, but sure. I was thinking about this earlier because I saw a comment on a soundtrack on this thing which referenced the Grand Tour. And I'm naming this Why I Won't Touch Poison specifically because it is poison. And that's just how I feel about these specific people. Of course, talking about the cast of Top Gear and, say, the Grand Tour. I'll say about Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond. And I think they're all sort of poisonous in their own ways. James May less so. I've done a bit of research as best as I could. I've used other people's opinions as sort of an understanding to what people like and dislike about them. But none of them seem like saints, to be honest. Even James May, who's pretty neutral in most things. But there are so many weird things about these guys, like Jeremy Clarkson. Obviously I shared that story before about how he made a horrible comment against a disabled person, I think. I think it was in the news. I only really heard it from someone who knew them. But it's like, it's not surprising, and people claim to like him even in person, but he is literally insufferable if you're not his sort of ideal like working class or white alpha male. It's just kind of useless to him, and that's apparently how he views disabled people. And his right-wing views obviously become very controversial there. On top of that, he's just not a nice person anyway. Like, yes, he can be a good comedian, but he's not a smart person, and that much is obvious. And I think he gets a lot quite full of himself as well, given the stories I've heard. And also to just have his own fucking shows is just dystopian as hell. I remember he did I think it was like Clarkson's Farm, which honestly seems like a like big animal ag sort of ploy, whatever you call it. Maybe even a psyop, but I think that term gets misused a lot. Yeah, it does feel very sort of disingenuous and feels like it's there to misrepresent things. Similarly, Top Gear probably also did that too. I don't remember much, and I'm not also an automobile enthusiast, so I can't really claim to know what they're talking about. But I do know that there have been things online before, I think, about Top Gear and its like findings and stuff that have turned out to be false. And it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I think even then, that sort of cars and stuff they test, and somehow magically they always go wrong, so there's also probably a controversy there, where you see that they've actually sabotaged the cars to make it specifically entertaining or something. Well, I've seen stupid shit like that. It sort of reminds me of the Bear Grylls eating at a hotel and stuff, eating and sleeping at a hotel, instead of doing the whole survival thing. It's kind of a similar thing there, although it's more done for drama in this case. Yeah, again, I can't really stand Clarkson at all. Again, he's a complete idiot, and I think he even still believes in shit like Brexit and obviously the crap that Nigel Farage is pushing these days. He's just such a toxic person. There's rarely anything nice to say about him. Again, rare. And the fact that comedy is like the best thing he could do, it's just not great. But there's also Richard Hammond. Obviously, won't go into James May because it's not enough. But my issue with Richard Hammond is actually different, because I don't know if he is like a sort of right winger like Clarkson, but I do know he is not exactly a nice person when it comes to the sort of things he's presenting. As in, does anyone remember Sky? It's a TV network in the UK and the channels. Do you remember Sky 1? Do you remember in the evenings the Brainiac show? Yes, basically Brainiac science abuse, and it was fucking weird. Apparently the full series is on YouTube, but there's a reason why I won't recommend it. It's just a very fucking creepy show in context, because they're basically doing Mythbusters, I think, but trying to overanalyze it and stuff, and it's just not very interesting from that perspective. And I wouldn't have realised that as a kid, but by far one of the worst things has to be just the exploitation of women in that. Literally in the first fucking episode, they're trying to find out something about exercise and staring at women's breasts to see if it improves your ability to exercise, and it's like, what the fuck is this? It's such a stupid concept. I get maybe it could be studied, but why are you using actual women? Assuming they're not already like porn actresses, but if they are, then sure. I suppose there's not much of an issue there, even though it's kind of weird. But man, it's such a fucking strange concept, and this was like PG. Like, it's not even 18 plus, I don't think. So, it's very bizarre, and they also tried to make it like kind of blown out of proportion in a way. Like blowing up a caravan or something with a phone or something like that. I only saw brief bits of it before I fucking gave up. And it just gets you wondering, well, what is even the point of this? Like, of course you could blow up a fucking caravan with a phone. Like, it's some of the dumbest things sometimes. It's so obvious, and it may not be to like someone who's they're not tech savvy, but I think for some people it is kind of obvious. I think there's a very specific way that can happen. But obviously they probably wouldn't even show the working out for that, because they're sort of telling you how to make a weapon. It's like, so again, there's really dumb things with that, and I just don't like it. So yeah, Brainiac was almost a fucking joke of a show. And apparently it has misreported results, which wouldn't surprise me given some of the things I think I've seen on Topic. But Jesus Christ, it's bizarre. I just don't really like these people. Again, I'm not really touching the poison here. I've seen James May's channel a few times recommended to me on YouTube. I don't know why, because I'm not even into the things he's into, which is alcohol. Again, it's just like touching poison. Like, why would you do that to yourself? It's just so ridiculous sometimes. I know that, Top Gear is a sort of fucking meme, but, remember it as a comedy and not a fucking show that reports on what cars do and don't. And also there isn't really much to cars anyway. It sounds dumb, but I really don't think there is much to them, especially what they're presenting, which is very much a type of car for, like, say, a family person, or even just a sports car, which seems so fucking ridiculous, because why would you do that anyway? It's such a bad show for like daytime TV as well. Not to mention, most people won't care because they're not in the market for a fucking car anyway. But the only people who care are probably like the sort of boy racer types and stuff. Even then, I think people who are all sort of enthusiastic about cars wouldn't watch that show, and in fact, that sort of remind me actually. I know someone who didn't like Top Gear. Instead preferred Fifth Gear, which is actually a show, by the way. Was it Sixth Gear? I can't remember. It has a similar name, but it's like, it was much better, and because it's actually presenting things like factually. I think it was more for the average person as well. but that's like their opinion, not mine. I obviously haven't seen much of it. Yeah. Again, I would just stay away from all that shit, regardless. And I do have a lot of memories from Top Gear and stuff. Seen a lot of the episodes, in fact, the DVDs of them, and even just all the movies as well. The sort of movies they did. But again, it's just so pointless. Just absolutely ridiculous concept for a show, and it's not exactly executed well. Again, there's always something there to fucking stir up drama, and you might say no when they need to. They need to do that. They need to sort of break the engine so it becomes more intense, so they actually have something or pretend that it's broken. And sometimes you could probably actually see that, I reckon, if you look at the footage. They also have those fucking camera calls as well. Literally, having to trail them around and stuff. Again, it's so ridiculous by today's standards. Even though I didn't have drones back then, so it's fair game, really. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add, so let's move on. Kept getting away with it, except with this. This is actually fine. I've just listened to the best soundtrack I've ever heard in my lifetime, and it's been a while coming because it took like 2 months to listen to. But I think that why does it take that long to listen to? Because it doesn't sound like it would be worth listening to if it takes that long. But you might be curious to know. It's the Mario Kart World soundtrack. It's just not any ordinary soundtrack. The Mario Kart World one. And it is fucking insane. For the starters, I would admit, some of the track soundtracks I weren't keen on. It's very like few and far between, but I did like quite a few of them anyway. But getting into the remixes, my fucking god, it really opens up. There's actually an insane amount of tracks to like when there's remixes here. Even then, some of the tracks are just remixes anyway, because they're from tracks of the past. So, there is so much to like here. And it's one of the craziest soundtracks I've ever heard, because it just has so many different genres, a lot that I can get behind myself. It goes so many bizarre places, like there's bossa nova, there's reggae. What the fuck, reggae in 2025 was this? Was it 2024? I can't remember now when Mario Kart World 2 was released. There's jazz, there's lo-fi, metal obviously. There's just so many like tracks as well, it's just absolutely fucking insane, and there's so many I liked. In total, 281 of 352. That's how many tracks I liked enough to add to my playlist. It's insanely impressive. I watched used is it WePlay? Yeah, WePlay's a big playlist of all the tracks, which props for doing that. The only thing I'll say is some of the tracks are weird, like some are muffled, have effects in it, or are too quiet. Although there's only one case really, somehow. But yeah, the entire soundtrack is there for you to listen to. Even shuffle if you dare. But it's fucking crazy. And also, props to everyone who managed to record it and get the soundtrack out there. Because I know the effort that went into it. It's genuinely fascinating. And there's a good video on that, which I suggest people watch, because you really do not know the effort that these players went through just to get this soundtrack out there. My god, what a fucking payoff as well, because it really does feel just amazing to listen to. Like, what do I even say? I'm literally speechless. This soundtrack had me, even though I'm not a big Mario fan, it's worth noting, I still felt a bit of nostalgia from it, without having played a lot of these games and maybe seen them played a few times, maybe even speedrun. But I just felt so emotional during certain tracks and just jaw dropped in others because it is one of those soundtracks. Again, it doesn't get the title easily because of, just it is the best soundtrack of all time, I think. Just hands down. And all of this labour of love for a franchise that's been going for, 30 plus years now. And still going, we'll be going strong probably into the future, but what the fuck though? The fact they went through the effort of remixing other tracks, like from other games, and recognising some that are less recognised. Again, it's insane. Like, how it's hard not to get emotional about certain aspects of the soundtracks because even some I recognised, I was like, wow. I even wrote down notes in as a document, my best songs of all time. But a lot of these involve just some of the remixes, and there are tracks there, like track music here and there. But a lot of it is just the remixes, because they're just so well done. I'm trying to think of ones that I found are really good, like Dolphin Shoals, One Word, What the Fuck. Ice Outpost, the guitarist is insane. Vancouver Velocity, Persona, track of a 80s, 90s Eurobeat and electronic. Staff credits Mario Kart DS, beautiful. Map screen melody, Super Mario Bros. 3, wow. Underground BM, Super Mario World, what the fuck. Underground BM, Super Mario World, what the fuck. Bowser's Road, Super Mario 64, wow. What's the next one I made a note on? Because I really made notes on it as well. Hands on Hall, Super Mario 3D World. Bowser's Highway Show. No, wait, I didn't write a note on that one actually. But yeah, that's as far as it goes. There's so many insane tracks. And I had to listen to the Delta in Chapter 5 soundtrack at some point during this anyway. So that sent me back a bit. But again, I was just so shocked at how good it is. Because I would not have expected that. It seems very bizarre to me because it feels like this isn't almost too good to be true. And I think that's no exaggeration. Because it literally does feel too good to be true. The fact that this exists. And somehow they got composers together to make a remix of like 200 plus tracks and perhaps even 300. Again, it's absolutely incomprehensible. I haven't even made that many songs in that time. Or whatever. But, I suppose they have had. What was it between the dates of the tracks? I suppose like a few years at least, like a good decade maybe. Going that stretch, I can't remember when Mario Kart was released. But my god. There's no track like this out there, no soundtrack like it. And I do obviously strongly recommend it. It is a long one to watch, or listen through rather. I did see somewhere there's like 10 hours of music, but that doesn't seem right to me. Because I had like between like 20 and 40-minute intervals to listen to it each day, and every time I can, I do. And about, 8 or 10 of those days I don't listen to it. I've been trying to listen to it all the time on top of that, so yeah, I don't think 10 hours is an accurate amount. I think it's a lot longer somehow, like maybe even like 24 hours, I'd say. A stretch. This is like unlooped as well, so not even going for the extended editions of the tracks, which thankfully is one, because I do get pissed off by those. You can only listen to a track so many times. I think people could really be more creative when they want to loop a track, like just get a fucking bit of software. I'm pretty sure you can make something like Flushable, probably allows you to do it. Pretty sure I've done it before actually. Audacity probably allows you to. No, FL Studio, a digital audio workstation will, if it has the loop option. But yeah, don't really know what else to add, to be honest. Again, it's one of the best soundtracks ever made, hands down. I don't think people can actually argue against that, because it's not really about, like, it just does everything. It has everything, it has heart. It's obviously very well made and very well thought out. It's just so insane to me. And yeah, literally is a labour of love. For sure, people have probably felt the love in this soundtrack, and it really does show. Yeah. Again, I'm speechless. I don't really have anything else to say. This is surprisingly short for what I thought was a very big soundtrack. I forgot to mention actually one thing. I do think that I rate soundtracks based off of how much of it I like, and I usually go by percentage. 20 to 25%, usually in the very good range, even almost like perfect, I would say, because most soundtracks include little like sections and stuff, like 5 minute sort of things that are not relevant, or even just like a few 30-second bits. And even though those don't really count, there are still tracks that are longer that I sometimes don't really vibe with. But it is honestly impressive that Super Mario Kart World, okay, that's the next game, Mario Kart World has just vibed with me so much. It's again incomprehensible, but this soundtrack, going off a rough guess, it's like 75% of it I liked, which is insanely impressive. It's such an incomprehensible number, it's perhaps even 80% at a stretch. And the fact I liked it so much that way, it's just insane. Yeah, a game of this scope is surprising. And also I wonder how they even fit this on there. Like, how big is the game as a download? It has to be above like 80 gigabytes, right? It can't be below that. I fail to see how a game by this size would be below that number. Anyway, haven't got anything else to add, so strongly recommend the soundtrack. Wait, is that a glitchy Witcher 3 screenshot? They glitch out sometimes. Can't make out the face on that. Can't make out with the face. Or can I? Anyway, let's move on. So we'll start waiting for my bowels to eviscerate me. Also, there's a gust of wind blowing me. Oh, that's my duvet actually. Just did my injection. This stuff is fucking weird, I swear. Sometimes it feels like it goes in, and other times it doesn't. And then if you draw blood, that's usually a good sign, because that means it did go in. It's so fucking weird sometimes, I don't get it, and I have a feeling it's not working for me. So I hate it. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a recent Most Critical video, which was about these TikTokers who decided to play golf in the street at night. Yikes. And these people are just completely morally corrupt because they're out there trying to push promotional products, apparently, via agents, instead of confronting law enforcement. It's just so dumb. But this is the thing, because I realised something watching this. This is why games exist. It's to do this shit exactly, but without the risk of harming someone else. And it's like the perfect idea for a game as well, which is annoying, and it's got so much potential. Basically, I call it GTA, but basically something like golf. Don't know what the T would be, I put track, and A would be attack. Yeah, basically a game with a goal of, doing random shit like destruction. They're destroying buildings or something with this, and hell, maybe even killing people, maybe going to war. I imagine being like a fucking soldier out there He tried to take out a tank or something with a golf ball. Like, there's so many ridiculous things you could do with that. But that's again why it exists, and I think people really underestimate that, to be honest. There is so much potential with something like this, and yeah, it just doesn't see the light of day because I guess nobody thought of it. I'm already assuming that it doesn't exist already, but it probably does somewhere, and I could be wrong. But it would be one of the best things, I think, for a game, especially if co-op, because it would just be so unique. Like, it could be like just a destructive thing, or it could just be like a golf course itself. Imagine sort of an open world, actually, like maybe... What was that game? There was like a sports game a while ago. It's like open world, but it's connected. There's also a game on Convergence, so sort of like that. But something like that, where you have different golf courses and you have different like objectives, and you have to get a certain score with the destructive golf balls and whatever. Maybe there should be abilities too and stuff. There's many different ways to make it happen. But again, there's so much potential with that. It just makes no sense not to explore that idea. But again, these people who are just doing this, putting lives at risk, are complete arseholes. They should be tried for attempted murder, because I think they shouldn't slide. And hopefully more people have contacted the police department about this, because it is really bad. But as a game idea, it's got something, really. It's got something there to potentially enjoy. To be very like iconic, I suppose. So I think it's worth obviously looking into. It has all that potential, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what else to add here, to be honest. I think you need to see some sort of, I don't know, like what to call it. Like, just make a game like this. I think that's really the only thing to say here. Because that is probably one of the most important things there. But make a game like that just would be an overall big benefit. I see so much good coming of that, to be fair. So it's kind of a thing, really. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, to be honest. I'm a bit tired today for some reason, even though I got good sleep. But it's just one topic there that's bothered me quite a bit. It's ridiculous. Just make a game. It's probably easier to make a game than it is to risk life in prison. Like, I don't understand the logic here. Anyway, let's move on. I'm not supposed to be doing fucking talking. I'm busy as hell. This one I also have to talk about. Special Books by Special Kids made a video recently about YouTube, and this should stay up hopefully. But it's more comments on why YouTube itself is just such a scummy fucking place for anyone, really, because it just backfires and you can't get anything done. You just get fucked every single time. And this channel has been a good channel for understanding disability, mental health, mental illness. It's been good for understanding all of that. And yeah, it's a valuable channel compared to a lot of the other shit on here. And also, I always find it to be like a crime when the viewer counts on this are lower than, say, a gacha pulling video. It feels like a fucking crime whenever that happens. And sadly, the only videos that get attention are those where the person interviewed is like with a very unusual like deformality, is that what it's called? I don't know. It's probably not the right term, so apologies for that. But it's something like that, and sadly that's what gets the views. But I appreciate his channel's persistence in not exploiting that, which is fine. I think it's good. I think as long as you get like different stories and stuff from different people, it's gonna get attention somewhere. Not just from viewers, but from people who do not know anything about it or will not take it seriously. And even then, it pisses off a lot of the trolls, because obviously these people have much better lives than they do. Which is always quite funny to think about. I don't mean it to be like a snarky thing, but trolls don't really deserve the right to life, in my opinion. So, yeah, basically the story is that because one of the people interviewed passed away, and I think a few have over the years anyway, which is sad, YouTube have decided to disable comments on this channel for some reason. And even though it's a channel that's pretty suitable for kids, not all the videos are, I will say. There's some a bit kind of more mature, but the ones that are for kids anyway, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with the content of the video. And even if it's like one of those more graphic stories where they have like multiple operations and skin conditions, I remember one like that. It's not even graphic content. And the other thing is, you have to understand, and this is why you need humans behind the scenes on YouTube, these people will always exist. Like, get used to it, because it is pathetic. This is the world we're in. It's like, humans will appear differently each time. Some will have scars, some won't. Some will have skin conditions, some won't. Again, this is reality. And if an AI is not going to figure that out, we shouldn't have AI. Because AI believes in a very white supremacist and able-bodied society, which is not good. It's not good for anyone. I don't know why anyone with these problems would actually benefit from AI, or even how. So it's always worth considering that. I suppose the other thing that pisses me off about this situation is how useful the channel has been to people. For educating, for sharing advice, for even just enlightening people, and even then again, getting back at trolls. I think it's been pretty crucial in terms of a channel, in terms of the understandings of of disability and of everything, even physical disability. I keep forgetting to mention that, it's my bad. But yeah, and thankfully they've restored it, I think, according to the update in the comments. YouTube's community outreach team emailed personally, listened to concern and escalated issues to specialist teams, and they were able to restore comments to nearly all the affected interviews, which is good. So yeah, there's definitely good news either way, but this shouldn't have been an issue. It's like a guilty until proven innocent situation. Even then, it's also got a third thing there: guilty until proven innocent or lucky. And you have to be lucky to even have something like this looked at. And they probably wouldn't even do this for the smaller channels with like 100k subs. Fortunately, FFXIV has 3.7 million, or 3.75 million subs, which is really good. For a channel like this as well, it's honestly great. I just hope that some point, hopefully, I would have hoped that Moist Critical might have made a video on this. It would have been a very interesting story, a very good one to have though. It also probably put to rest another sort of concern I have about Moist Critical anyway. I'm not 100% sure he's actually sort of against the politics that fuck us, let alone AI. It's always been a bit of a strange stance, and also, I was watching police body cam footage, I'm not so much anymore. I'm not really someone who takes things at face value, like ACAB for example. I do think there are a lot of corrupt police officers out there, and ones who specifically target people who are just vulnerable or just in a bad situation or a rough spot. just to exercise power or authority. Like, they 100% exist. There's no denying that. But we also can't discount the fact that there are definitely good police officers out there. Not all of them are, but some definitely aren't. And I think the only times you can sort of play police officer in person is obviously when someone is a threat and you have the opportunity to disarm them or disable them or whatever. But again, with Most Critical, for example, he watches so much of the footage that I just don't know what side he's on exactly. It's a bit hard to figure out at times. Yeah, I just think having some sort of publicity for this channel is going to be a good thing, I think, and help disabled people. I think that's one of the points that would be good to hear from Scraker himself, Charlie. And also this as well, exposing YouTube's bullshit. Definitely be great. But yeah. Don't really know what else there is. It's just so fucking terrible. I can't believe this is even a thing. It's too hard to believe sometimes. It just shows how dystopian everything's becoming. Where you could hire humans for this job and have a wealth tax and pay these people to do it. It's just nuts. So yeah, that's about it. So let's move on. I'll finish BBC's Ghosts. Need to be specific here because I didn't know this was a thing. UK version. Yeah, like, where do I start? It's just a good series. I made my first impressions and it definitely delivered for the first two series. It still has good characters and it's starting to reach a point where the story is starting to be better explored too. And its humour also stays pretty well for those first two series. But eventually it does start to die down from series 4 and 3 and 4 and even 5, I guess. I think, was there 5? Am I misremembering? It's probably bound to happen with a series like this. It was bound to get stale, I think, after a certain point. So it just doesn't surprise me from that perspective. I think it was going to happen regardless. So yeah, what do I even say? I suppose the acting was good. I wouldn't say all of it was great. It's just a bit average. It's more like a talky sort of acting. It's not very, you're not going to get any like gut-wrenching screams or stuff, or even like professional voice acting, which there was one instance of. There's an Robin flashback, but that was about it. Yeah, I think the cast of characters is great, but it does feel a bit underutilised in areas for sure. I did find like one or two hiccups in it. Some points with like the ghost stuff. I'm still weirded out by the fact they cast shadows. I don't know about that. It seems a bit bizarre to me to have that. Maybe not something they could edit out, but even then, it's just a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, the set just about the same every season, which is a bit frustrating. Because it's just the same places and it can get a bit boring. What else is there? The music is not very noticeable, it's just one of those things. It doesn't really have much or do much. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think the ending, I might as well mention that. The ending is good. I think it's not the best one I've ever seen, but it's still good. I think that was a big way to fuck us up, but I think this one kind of leaves things to interpretation and does definitely make sense as well. Like for sure, because essentially the entire series is revolving around this point, and I did like the foreshadowing, actually, because they started foreshadowing it in, I think, series 3 or 4? Can't remember what it was. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, like, what do I even say? It's just a show, and there isn't really anything too impressive about it, I will say. It's just something to watch, and that's that. Although, sadly but fortunately in a way, and I have to mention this, do I recommend it? I guess so. It's certainly got some British humour in it. It's not the most British, it's like sitcom I've seen. Certainly some of the ideas are not well explored, but also the age rating, no doubt, lets it down a bit. I reckon it was probably a PG based on what I saw on it, and obviously Julian's existence being that. It was very sort of unexplored, but it's clever in other ways. There's a really good joke in the final episode, which I think was extremely clever, and also really dirty. Fuck's sake. Still thinking about it. Yeah, and then I'm trying to think. Like, I'd just recommend it if you're bored. Like, not if you're really bored, but if you're just bored looking for something to watch, having like a few laughs and stuff. But as a story, it's not really much to go on, sadly. I think that's really the biggest part that lets it down. It could have been so much more, but unfortunately it didn't. And I think, again, the age rating sort of let that down a lot. Yeah, it's still enjoyable. But having said that, there's a US version. I'm dreading it. Look at the description here for the pilot. The US version of the hit UK series, a young couple's dreams come true when they inherit a country house, and it's found it's falling apart and inhabited by many of the deceased previous residents. And judging by the thumbnails I'm seeing on here, it's like they just copied it. Like, why? Like, if they're copying it, then what's the fucking point? I'm willing to see this out, but judging by that thumbnails I'm seeing, like, you see similarities. The only one is like, I think Robin maybe has been replaced by an indigenous person, possibly indigenous or no, Indian American. Maybe, and the indigenous Indian American. Technically, I think I could be wrong. I'm not good with history or that side of discussion and stuff. It's still going in series 4. I don't know. Is it finished? No idea. So it's available for 10 months. What do you mean? I don't know. Yeah, I'm certainly gonna give this a shot. See how it is, and obviously judge it based on that. I will say there are parts of the actual UK series which I wasn't a fan of, like Mike and everything else. See, I'll go into spoiler bits now. I didn't like that Mike could never see the ghost. I think that was a bit weird, and it's a bit strange. Because you would have thought they would have found a way to do that, but no, apparently not. It's very interesting. But I think that could have been done better. What's the other thing? I wish we saw more ghosts being sucked up, because the only one that got sucked up throughout the entire series, who's part of the main cast, is Mary. And I wish we saw more characters being sucked up, which it did annoy me a bit. But I also wish we knew the rule set for that, because what dictates it? Like, Robin had that theory, and obviously it didn't go through. And so I don't exactly know what the criteria is. The fact that Robin has lived this many generations without being sucked up. Maybe it's just to do with atoning for things or making mistakes. Which I think, guessing everyone there probably hasn't. Like, Kitty's case doesn't really make sense. Not just Pat, really. Like, sometimes the deaths are just caused by things that aren't even their fault. It's hard to know. But I always found that weird. And obviously the age rating a bit just sort of kind of fucks with it a bit. Because I can't go into details, obviously, like you can't learn about Julian's actual like wrongdoings and stuff. Like you can't see him just banging some random secretary. Although it would be a funny thing to have. Even then, I'm not really asking for nudity there. It's just weird. Anyway, I think I better move on. So I'll try the US version, see what that's like, and update people, so yeah. Well, this is kind of a big controversy that for some reason nobody ever talks about. I suppose it's because it's a niche like group of people who are bothered by this. But flushable wipes, I've been using them for years now, and they haven't really been a problem for the toilet, except for when I moved here, and that's the difference. But for some reason, I decided to look up whether flushable wipes are actually flushable, because to me, I don't know what makes something flushable, and it doesn't exactly make sense. Just a bit confusing, really, to figure out what it is and how it works. So I did a bit of research, and it turns out that it may actually not be as flushable as you think. Basically, it's a scam, and I think there is potentially money to be had by sewage companies and unfortunately sewage plant. Fucking hate them. But still, there's money to be had here by suing companies who are claiming products to be flushable. But even then, things being flushable, it means it has to be flushable. So what's the deal then? Like, what are they doing? Basically, it creates clogs in the sewer system, apparently. And I only found this out for a short of a guy I've been watching actually doing the whole sort of sewage stuff. And I found it very interesting, because I didn't even realise that it could do that. Because I always assumed, because my shits are really fucking solid, they don't break apart, and they do block the toilet. And that's always a confusing thing, because it's not always my choice. That's not choice. What the fuck am I saying? I don't choose the consistency of my shit. So if it blocks or not, that's not my issue. Like, I can't do anything about it. I eat a lot of fibre and it makes no difference. I eat a lot of like low fibre stuff and it makes no difference. So it just becomes a whole shitstorm. And what really annoys me about it is just the fact that there seems to be a lot of confusion around flushable wipes from what I can tell, and I think it's different based on who you ask. If it's someone who deals with a sewer system, it'll be a different opinion. Obviously, they'll say it's awful, you shouldn't use them at all. But if you ask a plumber, apparently, I've seen this even on a channel that I did sort of look at before for this sort of stuff, even the plumber will say, yeah, it's fine. But it's absolutely not. So there's this confusion around just exactly what you should do with them. And obviously people say bin it, but what they don't realise is that creates a very hostile environment, and these things start to fester after a while. I could be wrong, but when I'd been around sort of like children, also put in the disposable diapers and stuff, well, I mean babies, but putting the diapers in the bin and stuff, the bins often really stink. And I don't know if there's any way to sort of prevent that, but that's my main concern with it. Because if you are disposing it and it leaves a smell, what are you supposed to do? And especially if there's like moisture and stuff, it leaves moisture in there. So when it gets extremely warm, it will start to heat up in there, and then the moisture will rise. And in these climates, you can't do that. So again, there's a stupid problem here where you're getting conflicting sort of advice, or whatever you call this. I don't even call it advice, I don't think. It's just more like people telling us what we should do, and it's not helping. So yeah, like, again, it smells, and that's like the big thing with that, the biggest issue. But it gets even more confusing, I think, because when you look at what actually constitutes a flushable wipe, it needs to be degradable. So when it's in the system, it needs to be able to be degraded like toilet paper. And toilet paper is usually degradable anyway. But there are cases where they're not. But toilet paper should be degradable, and even then, I've sort of checked this out as well before, but you know, something like face wipes technically are degradable, I think. You know, if you put moisture on them, and it hits like a side or something, it just breaks. So I've got some here. It's like easy to break apart, it's like just some of the pressure. So it doesn't make a difference when it's one that's something like this. And it says like don't flush, but it breaks apart, so I don't understand. It breaks apart the same way toilet paper does. It's the same thing, essentially. But that's not a misreporting of it, as far as I'm aware. But it doesn't even say what it is. It's free ply. It's by Kleenex. You know, you have to flush these as well, because you know what you use them for, and I use it for specific things. You're going to have to flush it. So again, you're in a corner here, and then if I go to Amazon, for example, Flushable wipes, like when I used to go to Pura, then there's an Amazon owned one, and I haven't tried Andrex before. Maybe it's a better option, but you know, there's plenty of them out there, and these are just flushable wipes, moist toilet tissue. So Pura always claims to be you know, degradable and stuff. So water and organic aloe vera, no perfume, plastic free, biodegradable, 100% compostable. That's what they claim. But you know, I've had them dry up before, and the thing is, I don't know if they break up. It's hard to say. Like, has someone done a test here? Someone appears to have done a test. Okay. She's put it in water. She's stirred it around with a rainbow spoon. Okay. Yeah, like, I don't know if that's actually working, to be honest. Stirring it around even more. It's barely breaking apart, like breaks apart in areas, but it's kind of stringy like some of the other ones were. And that's apparently what normal wipes are made of. They're made of some sort of plastic, and they do sort of become stringy, which is obviously not degradable like it should be. But even this experiment is not good, because it's supposed to just fall apart in many pieces. And that's not what it's doing there, obviously. So yeah, like, Pure fails the test, I think. Just based on that video alone. I could be wrong. But, you know, it's meant to break apart, and that's apparently what's right with it. So yeah, I don't know about that. So let's go to the Amazon one. I have these personally at the moment. Someone has done a test of it. No, that's just opening it and taking it out, sure. Not sure if there's any point to that, to be fair. But I don't know, I have had it break apart before, just using it. But it's not perfect, so I can't really see a test, and see stringy bits as well. Which, this is not good, because these aren't even the tissues. What the fuck is going on? So there's 2 brands here. There are 3 brands now, apparently. My Amazon Gentle. Oh yeah, there's different types, aren't they? They're all called Gentle. Alright. What's this airway shit? Fucking meta cringe. Mr. Charlton's audio stories and fuck off. You go on slop. Yeah, again, I can't really determine based on like any experiment stuff like, if it actually works. And you know, if you were to compare it to a toilet paper, you should be comparing it to that. And what does the Andrix one say? Because it's got the highest review score, 4.8. Maybe fake reviews, but who knows? Anyone who's actually done a test on it, don't think so. The thing is, I need to look at UK brands, but I don't really see any. Don't see anything. I guess ingredients matter, but they don't even list it usually. It's just fucking annoying. Yeah, guess I'll have to try the bin a few times, but I don't know. The thing is, they should like send out letters and stuff. Like, why the fuck aren't companies saying this shit anyway? Like, if it's bothering the sewer system, why aren't you saying, don't flush these down the toilet? It is a no-brainer, and if this is a real fucking scam, sue them. Because that's like easy money. They are blocking toilets and not actually flushable. Because flushable would imply that it's connected to the sewage system anyway. So it has to matter there. It has to count. Otherwise, it's just being dishonest. That's why this is such a really annoying situation and just really pisses me off as well. It is literally a system in place just to, you know, get sewage through and stuff. Keep us safe and keep us comfortable. But flushable wipes, they have to be good if they're to be used. And they need to recommend brands then instead, and I think people will respond there. It's like, what do you use instead? Sure, people will have many suggestions, but I really do think we need some sort of thing to make it easier on us to find a solution there. Because it is a bit ridiculous how this is a real scam. This actually does cause problems for sewage people and no doubt plumbers as well. Yeah, like I didn't really realise before that flushable didn't mean flushable. And even then I brought it up with a relevant team for my Crohn's disease because I was saying I need a bidet to sort of get the toilet issue sorted. Speaking of which, we do need worldwide, well I don't know what you say, like countrywide bidets for the toilet obviously. But I think it's so ridiculous how, again, we can be like punished by this shit. It's just fucking stupid. It damages the sewer system apparently. But how we deal with it, I don't know. Honestly, it's a mystery. I really think this needs to be more. People need to be made more aware of it. Because again, I didn't know. It didn't help with like sewage system and stuff, and if that's really a problem, I should hear about it really. So maybe I'm not going to stop flushing it down, but they need to tell me directly because I don't know if it is doing anything wrong. And not everyone is equipped with the measures or understanding to know if they work or not, and that's the problem. Stop saying it's a scam, start providing an experiment that you can do at home to check if it's fine. That's it. So, simple communication can lead to simple solutions. That's it. And also it can then call out companies by virtue of that. Also people are apathetic, so you know, not necessarily everyone is going to do it, but it's better to have less people doing it. Which is a thing you need to understand as well if you're going into this. So yeah, I just think this is absolutely ridiculous. I think something needs to be done. Again, hopefully it gets called out by the right people, because this is frankly devastating consequence, and then one day if the neighbourhood ends up waking up to a shit bug or something, whatever you call it, and it's apparently my fault because I'm the only one that uses flushable wipes here, I think. Well then, like, there is seriously no logic in this system. And again, it's on sewage companies and every honest plumber there is who is in communication with them to talk about it, to suggest alternatives, to suggest ways to use it, ways to flush it, like many different things. Like if I were to tear it apart, for example, like the moment I use it, I break it in half. Somehow, if that's even possible, because I tend to fold it. Actually, that's a weird thing. Because they break so easily as well in your hands, not just not in the water necessarily, but in your hands. You have to fold it to make sure it doesn't break, and I do that with tissues as well because they break as well because of how far I have to reach and press. It gets really inconvenient, and that causes issues. So yeah, again, it's like a very important discussion to have, and I don't really have anything else to say on this. Again, we need to see changes here, because it's quite obvious that there are fucking problems. Anyway, shall move on. So, first impressions of US Ghosts, Ghost US, BBC Ghost US, CBS Ghost, I don't even fucking know. Stupid name. They should have fixed that. They figured doing this. At least have an add-on on that, but anyway. I watched the pilot and the first 3 episodes, although technically is it already like an episode? No. Okay, so it's like 4 episodes in total, I guess, with the pilot included. And I gotta say, I'm surprised but also disappointed. There are moments in it where it just makes me think, and it just feels like a cheaper but quicker version of the UK series, and that's the best way to describe it. And sadly, it pretty much follows it, like right to the bone, I suppose, is a way to describe it. Like, I don't know how to describe it actually. It's weird. Like, I don't exactly understand what the decision making was here, because it felt like it was just trying to do everything the UK wanted but faster, and admittedly it makes it better. It's more progressive as well. I will say it's a bit more I think it's a bit more woke actually, in a good way obviously. They misuse woke a lot in the anti-woke crowds because they don't actually know what it is, fun fact. But it genuinely is interesting. I can't say I dislike it, but I also can't say I'm in love with it. Because, you know, the first 3 episodes of the UK one were definitely very funny. And this one is definitely funny. It retains some of the humour and some of the same jokes, which was a bit disappointing as well, because I would have thought they'd try something different, like maybe similar cars, similar sort of setting and stuff. But except it's just US. Like, everything is US-ified, whatever you call it. Or Americanified, I don't know. It's very fucking interesting. But I do like the cast a bit more, and also the acting is much better. Like, it just has to be said right off the bat, and not really any sort of shade towards the actors in that sense. But I think that the acting is just better than the actors in the UK, I mean. But it's just much better for the US one, genuinely. There just seems to be a lot of just better moments with them too, because of that better acting. Like the fucking 4 character, I won't spoil. He's very interesting. I would say, admittedly, it's probably because it's a British thing and we just hear ourselves too much to understand. Like, we can just get along with the accents, or even just find it entertaining. But the US stuff is fine here, like the slang and stuff. I think it's been sort of, yeah, again, US-ified or Americanified. But I like the cast of characters. I like how there's a hippie now in this. I thought that was very interesting. I'm very curious about what the hippie's role is. I know who she's replaced, Mary. But everyone else is basically similar, which is a bit disappointing, except for 4. 4 is a bit different. Although I don't know I have a feeling they changed the hippie for Thomas as well, because I don't know. Wait, there is a Thomas counterpart thing. I got those like US ghosts. Was that on IMDb series 2021? It says 20. Oh, because BBC iPlayer. Yeah. Done. Characters. Oh wow, worked pretty well. That's, I could say it's better than Schitt's Creek. I'm trying to find out what the characters are. It's hard to know about the kind of thingy. Because I don't know the character names either. They don't say them enough to really to know it. To be honest, where do I find the character list? Is there a character list somewhere? Ghost US character list, because I want to know. Hopefully it doesn't give me spoilers. Ghost Wiki. No, it's just trending. Right, it's fucking useless. Okay. How do I view the list of characters then? I'm confused. It feels a bit lazy. Oh wait, it's on the side? No. Okay, so we got Isaac, Hetty, Pete, Flower, Thorfinn, Sasapis. Why is Alison there? Oh, it's a Ghost Wiki. Wait, what? It's just Ghost Wiki. Okay, and Samantha. I haven't met Carol yet. Alberta. I haven't met Patience yet. Chris, I think we've seen. I don't know. Hard to say. Yeah, again, it's hard to sort of memorise the characters at the moment. It's a bit strange in that sense. The characters, CBS fans. Oh, this is a lot better. Okay, Sam J, alive people. Isaac, Alberta, Pete, Trevor, Flower, Thorfinn, Hitty, Safis, and guest characters. Okay, so yeah, this is a lot better presented. Yeah, I think they've removed Thomas. I think obviously like they've changed the Mary and Thomas parts. I think, except for Sapazis, I guess. I think Sasapis. I don't know why I can't pronounce it. Sasapis is similar to Thorfinn, I guess, but slightly different. I'm trying to figure out what eras they come from. Well, wait. No, I was thinking maybe they ordered it, but no. Yeah, it's not to know. They've also got the corrupt politician, Trevor, but he seems to have replaced Thomas. And you'll see what I mean when you watch this. I was very weirded out by that, I'm not going to lie. As for everything else, I guess its pacing is very fast, which I like. I sometimes don't do very well with slow pacing. It can be a bit like overwhelming stuff. But I think it's definitely better here because I think in the UK our accents, especially in our way of talking, it can be quite slow, and our sense of humour too. It can be a bit kind of takes a while to get to the punchline, but here it's like very crack and whip, I suppose, for lack of a correct term. And you know, I'm fine with it. I think it's definitely something. But at the same time, it's also a bit too quick for my liking as well. Because it's sort of hard to understand everything, even with subtitles. It's just kind of like, and you blink and you miss it. It literally is. I literally missed something in this third episode, and it's because I just blinked and I missed, and technically I blinked with my attention span. It's very weird. That is. Not 100% sure why that is. Yeah, the humour again reuses a lot of jokes, sadly, but also has new ones too, new ideas too as well, which I can appreciate, but it's not new enough in my opinion. That's really the bigger letdown in my honest opinion. Trying to think, is there anything else? X is good. Music is okay. The intro is very fast. For some reason, have recaps. Episodes are shorter. Forgot to mention that. I think that's pretty important. Some people don't like long episodes, or like like the Ghost one, the UK one. It's a bit sort of long, I suppose. But for sure, it's like it's something. I'm trying to think. Anything else? No, I don't think there is really a diversity. I guess it technically is. Again, I said it's a bit woke. But I think it's because obviously we've got a hippie character. We've also got multicultural. I don't know what you call it actually. It's diversity, inclusion, and stuff. Don't have a disabled character. I forgot to mention that in the UK one. It would have been great to have like disability representation and stuff, but I don't know if we have one in this. Even if it's just ghosts, but I don't know. But I'm hoping there is something like that, like better diversity in that sense. Yeah, I think it's generally good. I think it's something I'm going to stick with probably for a while, even if it does get shit. I am enjoying this. It's not something I hate at the moment. I think I could, but with the pacing and stuff, and especially where the story progresses, like it's done pretty much series 1 in about 4 20-minute episodes, which is pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie, that is crazy. So I think it is something, obviously. Don't really know what else to add, to be honest. I think it's very interesting series, and I will stick with it. So anyway, let's move on. How did I forget to talk about this? What did I even say? So I want to talk about why do old people hate the young, and I think it's a very interesting question because there just seems to be that very cynical nature to elderly people you interact with online who just don't like young people and their beliefs and their ideas and stuff, and even just the general culture around young people, believe it or not there is one. And yeah, in some ways I get it, even though I grew up around the 2000s, even though a lot of the memes are kind of relevant to me still. It's not all there, there's still issues, but trying to understand old people in that sense is kind of nightmarish at times. But there's ways to actually kind of understand it through empathy. So you have to realise everything that they've been through and just how they've had it. Like, even just going into like darker topics like abuse, that very much is a thing that elderly people might have experienced. But even then, they might be the abusive ones as well. Who knows, they might even be the first. So it's never worth disregarding that. So they are victims potentially turned into, well, for lack of a correct term, criminals. But that isn't probably the right way to describe them. For reserving criminals for actual criminals. But yeah, there's definitely immorality there, I think, and that is a big factor. But there's also other things such as envy. And I think envy is a aspect of it where you see them being jealous of the young age and just everything associated with it, like being innocent, being into those new things, and just very like weird things, like, you know, everything about it, like being able to have like multiple relationships and, you know, going through drinking and stuff more easily, even exercise, like just being very agile or flexible. There's just many different things, and even them working sometimes, it has its positives, I suppose. It's not everything, but it certainly has some. So yeah, that's one thing. But then I have to say, there's also the aspect of not understanding, which we've already sort of talked about. And not understanding is something like, you know, trying not to get distracted as well. Trying not to understand things our way. And when we say something like, oh, climate change is real, to another person who's never taught that, someone in their 60s, maybe 70, like God, it doesn't mean, but differently, they're not going to acknowledge it as well as other people. So, it's a very worrying thing. It's certainly a concern. Yeah, I think there is a problem there, not understanding things, and these are real issues. Sometimes they're big. Climate change is a big deal. And elderly people just don't look at it that way, for whatever reason, even though there's pretty much irrefutable evidence, and even some that's very simply portrayed. It's not very well portrayed, which really sucks. So, I don't really understand that shit. So that's the other thing, after not understanding, there's obviously a difference in tastes. So a lot of elderly people no doubt grew up with maybe jazz, maybe rock, surf rock, maybe even classical, as is the case. But some even metal. Again, there's different taste here, and it's different based on sort of age and where you grew up and stuff. There's definitely a lot of things going on there. And so the different tastes are a thing in itself. Taste are just, again, one of those things that's very subjective, and that's one of the ways to advise other people. We'll go into that a bit after. But certainly taste are a big problem as well. You like metal, they like classic. And believe it or not, there's some who don't. It's very weird. But as for the advice, I think the way to not be envious quite easily is to just, what am I fucking thinking? For not being envious, it's about focusing on the present in your current time. Yes, you may have missed out on a lot of things, but you also have to realise you grew up in an era that was quite potentially a lot better than ours now. And don't be envious of that, because it is literally hell right now for young people. Just simply because of the state of politics and the economy. Only until those get addressed, things will start to improve for us and even the elderly people. But still, massive issues. So, the other thing is not understanding. I think it's pretty simple, really. If you can empathise, you can empathise. It's not difficult to figure that out. People certainly think differently for others, but I think with empathy, you do really need to look at it through a young person's eyes and see what the issue is. See what the bigger problems are. How they become a thing. Even asking questions, that's a big way to understand these things, and even then that can expose bullshit that's coming from all that. Just coming from the premise of getting distracted again for the lack of understanding. I get too distracted by an Eevee on the other screen. It's just a very adorable Eevee moment. I'm trying to think. The next thing, obviously not the same taste. Again, it's a subjective thing. Who cares if you don't like the things that another person does? It has never made sense to me that this can even be a point of contention. Because there just really isn't any point in worrying about this. Why would you care that there are adults these days who get into relationships through dating apps, believe it or not, even though it's a bad thing? It's something that happens. So, I really think that this is a non-issue. I think it's a really tough situation to get in with that. Like, what do I even say? Not the same taste, like who cares? Like you like Pepsi, I like Coke. Actually it's the opposite way. I like Pepsi, you like Coke. Weirdo. Um, but sort of what we're looking at here is a difference of taste and even food as well. There's no doubt some people grew up with old English stuff and old English meals. Meanwhile, I grew up around Indian food takeaways and even then American food sort of, and even some traditional English stuff here and there. You know, it's common on one side of the family, and even then Italian certainly had. There's another one, I can't remember what it was. I've tried many different types of food. Chinese was great. Um, you know, different tastes, and you're not going to be the same. Who cares? You can try things, and that's okay as well. You can try things and not like them. That's fine. You can even throw away an entire fucking meal if you hate it. The point is, younger people are generally more open-minded, and you have to understand that too. And that's why tastes are so different. They might listen to something electronic when you obviously can't stand that. But again, that's fine. You can not like it. That's your thing. You don't have to just shit on people for it unless you have a constructive criticism. Even then, that's the only time you can really speak out against it, and I myself have done that for crappy music. But I don't have anything bad to say about classical or rock or even jazz. There just isn't really anything to say. It's just there, and I appreciate the music, so I can enjoy it too. So yeah, anyway, that's about it. So let's move on. I keep seeing this every now and then on the Yogscast subreddit, and it sort of bothers me at times, but also not. But the problem is, there seems to be an issue with finding vegan Jaffa cakes, and they keep posting Jaffa cakes on there that people keep trying it because they're new to the stuff, obviously, and it's quite a legacy thing as well for the Yogs. Because pretty much the entire brand is based around several different like British culture references. Even then, it's some American as well. It's mainly like Jaffa cakes and Warwick Davis, Shingle Notch, other things. It's a very interesting things in the Yorks culture, and the Yorks law for that matter. But I think Jaffa cakes. The thing is, I think people would be disappointed if we ever got vegan Jaffa cakes, because I've tried those Lidl's Jaffa cake cookies, which are really good. Actually, some of the tastiest sweet things I've ever tried. But then you have to realise that every fucking company has done a chocolate orange, and this is basically the same. Like vegan chocolate orange, but it's basically the same as a Jaffa cake. And I think that's more than enough proof that you don't always need a different sort of product or an alternative to something. I see a issue of not having an alternative to, say, maybe crab claws or even lobster. For some people that would be a luxury thing, delicacy even with it being plant-based, obviously. But at the same time, you don't always need stuff like that. In fact, I haven't seen vegan fish in a while. That's a good point. I wouldn't mind some of that. I haven't had it in a long time. I've got some chip shop curry sauce to use. Might as well just use that with something else. Maybe chips, actually. Just chips and sausages. Yeah, this is the thing. You don't always need an alternative to these things because it already is out there. Even though I haven't seen chocolate oranges in a while for vegan stuff, it no doubt exists somewhere. It's probably out there somewhere, and it's already been eaten stuff. It's just an insane amount of that. So yeah, you don't really need it. I could be wrong. This is what I really think is the thing. So do consider if you ever think of that. Even then, That's an idea actually, I didn't think about that before, but maybe there's even a world where you could perhaps make something crazy like a sort of vegan Jaffa cake cheesecake or something crazy, like biscuit base, I'll say, and then you have like a creamy chocolate top, and in the middle it's the orange stuff. However you make that, it's probably a way to make it because there are like vegan jellies and stuff. But I think that would be really interesting to try, and I might have to suggest that because I know someone that makes stuff like that. But it'd be a good idea. But that's the way you do it, really. I think it's one of the ways to do it. I think it would it just do a lot of benefits, I guess. Stop from looking at alternatives and just make it the way that it's always been made. You know, chocolate, orange, that's it. Maybe a biscuit. That's about it. Anyway, let's move on. I swear I am fucking cursed every time. I seem to have this thing. I noticed this a few months ago before I figured out the routine. But I'm cursed to waste my time. For some reason. Literally everything I try and do to try and be quick, to try and be efficient, gets completely shat all over because just things happen and I can't account for them. This morning I spent some time trying to figure out some things and responding to things as well. So I'm looking to get my guitar repaired, and luckily I've got something for it, but it took about 20 or 30 minutes to figure it out in total, and then I had another thing where I was trying to figure out if I can get more money, and turns out I can't, which sucks, and there's some really weird fucking rules on it. Like they tell you things you can use it for and things not to, and weird enough, essentials aren't a thing you can use for it. Okay. It's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking read in my life, I think. And that's saying something, I've read some really dumb shit. But anyway. So apparently I can't survive, according to them. But essentially, I just keep ending up with this time wasting issue, and I don't know what the cause is exactly. The time waste seems to happen just as a result of following a idea or something that I want to just know more about. And one of the things I did today, a bit NSFW, so obviously be warned, decided to just play in my anus a bit. I was quite curious as well. I wanted to feel what it was like and stuff, and I spent a good fucking 2 hours and 20 minutes just doing it. Just figuring things out, trying and experimenting. And there was some like brief interruption in between, as well, like transition and stuff, but I was discovering some things about myself there. Certainly getting used to stuff, really, which is a big positive. And I found out also that my other housemate's gone for a while, which is going to be good. Some sort of holiday. I obviously don't want to say the proper details because there is a reason why. But yeah, it's going to be positive, I think. But I was just very interested, and I've wasted so much time doing that, and I ended up doing some sort of like movement and squatting, and by the end I was just sweating everywhere. I've never sweat like that, ever. And I have done some crazy exercises before. My legs felt like, they still feel like they're dead. My arms felt fine. I managed to do weights today, even despite that, despite how much I've used them. It's very interesting. So maybe I just have a bit of extra strength training there. I was going to do a treadmill walk today, but I ran out of time and also feel exhausted anyway. But I was sort of worried I'm like going to be able to watch Pokemon later, which is a bit annoying. Because I really enjoy sitting down and watching Pokemon into the evening until I sleep. There's only been like an episode or two I've missed in the Black and White series because I've just been too tired, but I stay up to watch it because why not? I've thought about changing my sleep routine, but it's just not worth it. And also, if I just randomly stop now, it's just gonna fucking backfire, I think. And besides, the tireder that I am, I don't even know if that's the word. The tireder that I am, I think the better in the future, for the next day, I mean. It means I'll probably be able to sleep better. But tying into losing time and stuff, also lost a bunch of it cooking. Turns out I can't cook very well. Oh, God. And I can't really plan ahead either. I'm just not very good at that either. I made some chips and had some, I can't remember what it was, some plant-based summer fried burger thing. And did some nuggets as well with that. And, plant-based nuggets. What's the other thing? Beans. That's it. And I thought, how am I going to flavour the beans? Because baked beans on their own are okay, but they're not good enough in my opinion. So I looked through the cupboard and stuff, and I was planning maybe making smoky beans, a bit like KFC style. Because I actually love those beans. I think they are actually vegan, but I can't quote anyone on that. It's like the chips that aren't vegan for some reason. KFC, even though I don't really want to go there, obviously. Yeah, I was thinking of making that, but found some fried granules in the cupboard, so I thought, you know what, that matches it, so I did that. And yeah, it turned out alright, actually. I've started to not do chips when I'd like the next day's chips, because I make 2 portions, make one for today, obviously, and one for tomorrow, just to make things more efficient. And again, I lost time on that because the things, summer fried things, didn't cook properly. I opened them up after about 60 minutes in the air fryer at 190 degrees, and it was still cold in the centre. It's frozen, yeah, but it should be done by now. So I put it in for another 3 minutes, and it wasn't done, I don't think. Just very confusing. So I put in another 3, and it's done then. So that's like 200. I don't understand what's going on there. And I actually know ways to fry them in a pan now. Although the pan requires preheating, which is always the annoying part. You can just poke holes into it and it gets heat trapped inside, and then that cooks the middle a bit. I've seen it, I've actually used it before, and I used it in the air fryer, and it didn't work, I don't think, because it couldn't catch the heat for whatever reason. Because I'm wasting time with that, and then I had to do weights. And I had a fruit pastel lolly. I found out that's suitable for vegans, which is great. To be honest, I prefer like just a plain juice lollies, I think, because it just tastes nicer. I don't know what it is exactly. Yeah, it just tastes nicer to me, in all honesty. Well, I had these orange ones from Tesco, and they're surprisingly good. I'm kind of surprised by it, but they are good. It's just like Manda something orange. I can't remember what they're called now. Let me look it up. Probably shop somewhere. So Pepsi Max today for the first time in a long time. It's actually a lot nicer than I remembered. Nicer than the cherry one, which is bizarre. I can't find the lolly, but it's definitely an orange. There it is. I know it. Wait, it's a different one. They've got such similar packaging. There's some sort of fancy orange one anyway. I wonder which of these are actually vegan. Like, I've always wanted to try Calippo. Calippo is vegan. What? That's going on my list. I had them ages ago, I think, as a kid, but I never really got around to trying them. Sorry if you hear Twitch in the background, I'm watching a streamer on my phone. Yeah, basically all the Roundtree stuff is good. Twister berries still good. I thought Twister changed their things. Let me put next to that ice cream Calippo strawberry is the only one there. Just type that without looking. Roundtree's all good, I think. What's the other one? Layer Twister Berry. Twister Berry, Twister... Okay, the Twister Fruits are fine, I think. It's just the ordinary one that isn't good, it's got milk in. They did used to not have milk, which is bizarre. Yeah, I do like double check on that. Sorry, didn't miss do fucking shopping. What's this? This is what I mean. It wastes my time. There's a tango, I'm not fussed about tango stuff. I like the drinks, but not sure. Never really tried it. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. I get sidetracked and then I waste so much fucking time in my day and I don't have time for things. I try to make a dig into like was it like evening stuff, and today I obviously have more free time because of Pokemon. That was just my with enough, even though it's a workout day, it's my day. Wait. I just realised it's kind of dangerous. Because I'm sleep deprived and I'm not fully body recovered. But then again, it makes it easy for the next day, I don't know. It's hard to say actually. So maybe I've planned it out poorly. I was thinking of doing it tomorrow actually, the weight stuff. I'm not sure. It's hard to say because I do have like I take my time in the bath. It's just why not? Rub one out, to be fair. But it's just comforting as well. It's weird. It's like being overwhelmed with warmth or some reason moisture just really does something to me. I don't know what it is. It's always been a weird thing for me. I've had it even since fucking when I was in school. Yeah, it just for some reason when I was running a bath, obviously alone. Yeah, I just sat on the toilet seat, just everyone there. Why the fuck not? Sometimes there are better times actually. It's just this weird thing, and again, waste my time a lot. And I'm trying to think like the other things, like I've just spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out how to access Moonlit Productions Patreon. I'll definitely subscribe, I think, for like the tier 2. I might have to downgrade because I assumed there was a tier 3 thing, but there might not be. But I got the tier 3 just in case. Just wanted to get the things that are there. But annoyingly you can't fucking, for some reason, what is it? I need to look up tier 3, but you can't even fucking sort things properly in this. Like, Patreon has an awful fucking interface, it seems. Show more tiers, but there's only 3 and the middle one is like £5, which is fine. Actually £2 for downloading songs, that's not bad actually. I think I might go to that. It seems a lot better, and I haven't thought about Patreon myself ever since well, I'm recording music now. But I don't know what I could even offer other than just WAV files, and you know, because I won't have WAV files for all the stuff because you know, it's all VST and stuff, whatever, but it's a bit complicated. Yeah, I don't know how you figure out where the tier 3 stuff is. I don't know. I'll have to downgrade, I think, at some point. I'll keep it on this page, I think. But yeah, I'm going through this stuff. I'm definitely a fan of Moonlit Productions and the O2 stuff that he makes. It's a very impressive, like, in-style covers, and I was trying to subscribe for that, and there is luckily a way to download the songs. A bit confused. Sorry. I don't know what the fuck that is. Now. Just took 2 swigs, I don't know what the hell that was. It's like something shot up in the itchy in my throat. Weird. I've really experienced that. Oh, but that was so uncomfortable. I felt like I was going to be sick though. Yeah, as I said, I'm going through the songs and stuff. Admittedly, I'm not fussed about the tones. I think the tones are great. But there's a lot of, you know, I don't really have a use for them. Because even though it's kind of cool to have the same tone as like another band or pseudo style, it's also not really what I want. Yeah, luckily there's an easy way to access all the tracks, which is nice, and early access is not bad. I think it's worth like checking up on every now and then, seeing what's released. Obviously there'll be a page for that. But yeah, for my stuff it's going to be more complicated to make. You know, I would consider doing like tabs and stuff, and people say like, why don't you just do tabs? I used to be one of those people who said that. Actually saying like, just make a tab because it's simple. You know, it's the easiest way to learn your own music and play it. And really, the problem with that is, it's not something you do when you're recording. When you're recording like one thing at a time, obviously splicing as I do, or slicing, whatever you call it, you don't take into account the tablature because the tabs are secondary. They don't really have any sort of impact, I suppose. But even then, I think people just need to learn how to learn music, like I did. Pretty much everything I know on guitar and about styles and chord shapes is from learning through other songs. And not just Rocksmith, I've learned other things as well. I learned tap harmonics a while ago, but I can't remember how the fuck to do them. I learned weirder stuff. I've even taught made my own stuff rather. Which actually I might try and use in a thing, but I found out also how to make a higher octave. Because on the guitar, obviously, yeah, it's every octave is a half, so it's like E flat up there, E flat higher. If I go onto the string, just about hear this. But it's like a really weird tone, but if you use your thumb, I think, can maybe work it? No. It's very hard to vibrato though. Further. But it's basically the same as this is a pegged string here. Yeah. I'm trying to figure things out as well. Again, I'm just doing it again, I'm wasting my time. I'm definitely ADHD. I should probably talk about that a bit as well. I've known since childhood. I've been distracted in conversation before, and many times. I think it's gotten me into troubles too. I can't exactly remember what it was. But this is the problem. I'm not diagnosed with it, and people aren't taking it seriously enough when it does literally impact me. So I'm often a bit confused by that. I very much have ADHD, and given I'm autism, it makes sense as well. Both. Although I won't have a hyperactivity, obviously, it doesn't really work with me. I do have some bouts of it, but not like the same as others. I'm not like bouncing off the walls and talking a ton, weirdly enough. I might be ADD instead, just around hyperactivity. It would be good to diagnose this, because I would figure out a lot of the issues and maybe there's possible treatment, but I'm not sure about it. I don't want something that helps with depression, I just want something that helps with, that sort of stuff, being less distracted, being more focused and doing things, being happy as well as a result. Because that's just like my current big struggle. I really need to get things done. And then I just can't. For example, I've got a list of things to do. I've got to go in my room, prepare a box for the things I'm selling, sell other things, search through my other things as well. I've got a list for that. To find things to sell, to make money, because at this point I need it. And what else is there? I need to prepare, like, getting my computer and stuff, my new one. I've thought about not going fresh, but I don't know at this point. It's quite risky, and even then I could just sell the other computer to solve any of the issues I have on the new one. I've also got a anti-static wrist bracelet. I can't remember where I put mine, so I can easily transfer things without frying my components. What else? Yeah, I think I explained the changes I made on the configuration. So, yeah, SSD is the same, but it's just going to be the CPU that's different. I'd thought about changing the RAM, but there's nothing sort of at the same megahertz, which is annoying. And even if I go with something like, just a 32 GB model, I'm not even 100% sure that would work for me. Because I think the main problem is I'm such a big multitasker, I just can't like close things down. The fact I use every single Word document I have open, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, this one I don't use often, so I'll close that. It's a series 1, 5, 6. Meme number, but no. Yike, I mean, it's like, I don't use the spawn much, but even then it's still useful to have. This one I don't use much, I can close that. This one I'm using. It's like, how many documents now? 8 documents I've opened at once. 2 Excel sheets. Have a video thing, video downloader. Audacity. Paint. Only use it once a week, but I just keep it open anyway. It's very low usage. Volume mixer, work on tablet. File Explorer, which has multiple things. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's like several tabs in those. Steam, Vivaldi, VPN, sticky notes. I don't use one of these anymore, so I'm going to remove that. Don't know why I opened it back up. And one of these I don't even use either. Oh, I do use these, okay. But I might even just change the sticky notes to, the only sticky notes I've opened is for music. I might just change one of them to a Word document at this point for like colours and stuff, because it makes a bit more sense. I don't know why I haven't done that, but also Word has an annoying fucking issue where it for some reason won't open up the things I previously had open. It's very bizarre. I don't know why it does it. It's very fucking annoying. I hate it. Whenever Word resets, no, Windows resets. I get that. It's so fucking annoying. Like, why? Microsoft have really fucked it, and it's making it beyond the point of justification. And even then, I want to use an alternative, but I'm not fussed about the formatting. As long as it's like open document format, I'm fine. As long as I can change the colour of font, I'm fine. Change the size, I'm fine. Just has to be basic Word with images, if possible. That'd be a great bonus, and with a table, if possible. Again, a great bonus. And without the worry of having to fucking convert each file just for the new software. I tried LibreOffice before, I hated it. It was too slow, too laggy, too inefficient. I tried it for a while and it just wouldn't work. And even then, Word sometimes resets things, speaking of which. Yes, it reset that again. Because it keeps asking me about like opening in another format. I remove this thing that I use every now and then, like hotkey, and because I use it for artwork and stuff, for some reason it still remains on there. It keeps resetting itself and putting itself back. Even though I've tried removing this fucking key, this hotkey, for so long, and it works when you do it that time. But if you click like yes on the prompt that comes up after you reopen Word, it puts it back. Like, why are you even fucking asking me it? I have these settings for a reason. I pay for this. This is a software that I'm paying for. So it isn't your fucking responsibility to tell me that my settings are wrong when it's my settings. It's a bit like saying, oh, well, you can't have a room temperature of 26 because the companies don't agree with cooling your room down that far. Like, what are you fucking on about? It's fucking comfort temperature. Absolute morons. And pillocks. It's just so fucking terrible. I just have so much disgust and disdain for those things. And actually, it's a good thing to look at for a video, like the Word alternatives, open source as well. Microsoft Office alternatives, Windows. Might as well Windows, but if it's Linux, cool. Let's see, Kevin Stratford from 5 years ago. Let's do one from 7 months ago too. Yeah, also Microsoft Office is fucking expensive as hell. Maybe there's a second video rather. I'm trying to find a second video. I don't like the videos where there's not a person presenting. I don't know why, it's weird. Sorry for branding with so many things, but it's so weird. Like, I find too many videos where there's nobody like behind the screen. I get that some people don't want to show their face, and that's fine. But it's not a person speaking, it's fucking AI. So it's just stupid. And, you know, people might even suggest, like, get a cracked version of Word, and whilst there's a moon out there. ADHD. TM. Yes, it's night and I've not closed my blinds yet, but I'm seeing the moon. It's not full, it looks like it's gonna be. Also a fucking beautiful sight though. That's one of the things I like about this window. You do get to see it, and I've seen it shine through the blinds for some reason. It freaked me the fuck out because I thought it was like a searchlight sign. Like, what are you looking at me for? What have I done? Oh, Jesus. It turns out it's a moon. I just couldn't see it from the right angle. So that explains that. Yeah, so trying to look for a thing, I guess. Explaining computers might be next one. I don't know what video to watch for this. Yeah, and I don't watch short form content. If you find a video too long, put the playback speed up. I found that really useful recently, and it gets you through it in no time. I lied, it's actually about twice as fast. That's how fast it's going. So imagine I've got playlists with like hour-long videos and 20-minute videos, but it compresses that an hour and 20 minutes to about 40 minutes, which is really efficient. And especially with me doing my hobbies and stuff, and stuff on the side, it really speeds it up. It's so good. That's one of my favourite features of YouTube now, for what they still have. Hopefully they don't fucking remove it, as I'll be very pissed, and everyone will be as well. So yeah, that's about it, so let's move on. As if, literally, I guess, I don't know, weird correlation. So, Charlie made another video recently, and this one's about a bunch of old people hating this woman. I was very curious to see why, because I was like, maybe she's caused like a nuisance or something, maybe she's done something to them. It turns out it's not that at all, judging by what we've seen so far, what the proof is. And all she's done is inherited a house. Yeah. The fuck? Like, literally, as I've said, the reason they're so cynical is because of envy. Because they just don't like a lot of shit. Like, what do I even say to this? There's just so many terrible things to do with old people, and they are just absolutely just fucking jokes sometimes. And a lot of times there's also this this thing where they just seem to want everyone and everything to be miserable around them. Like, because they're old, they want others to go down with them or something. Which is a pretty pathetic logic, because, you know, if I was an old person today, seeing the way the world is going, I'll be fucking thankful to die. But I think it's that people, maybe these old people, have convinced themselves as well that they don't want to die yet, so if they are going to die, they're going to take people down with them. Even though they've lived a fucking fulfilled life, they're already in a house to begin with. And yeah, they already have. They've already lived their life. And so it's a bit stupid, and the fact that they can claim the right to a neighbourhood just for being old is fucking ridiculous. Like, young people have it so much worse today. And many old people even admit this. At least the rational ones, because there's not a ton of them. But there is literally a lot of problems here. Like, you can't get a good working wage, you can't get good home life or anything, you can't even get a safe parenthood anymore. From what I'm aware of. And this is just the absurdity. Like, what is going on? It feels absolutely insane to just think about this crap. Like, all this shit with just old people not liking for some reason when a young person is around. It's insane. And I would have thought, like, if it was like horny old guys, so they wouldn't mind. They'd be out the window fucking peeping. Like, I guess it's a gross thing to say, but you know, they literally would. There are a lot of fucked up people out there, and I imagine they might not have even any issues. But some probably do. They're probably jealous that their wife doesn't look like this 28-year-old woman. But again, it's not really a thing, though. It's not a problem. Because you have the internet, you have porn, like, yeah, it's a bit weird to be looking at young porn, but who the fuck cares? It's something that everyone does, but I just don't think it's really worth fussing about. It's just such a level of absurdity with this. And even then, I'm trying to think of the other thing. Like, can you live your life? Like, that's like a big point. If you've already been there, you've gone through what you think is like a model wife or something, you know, whatever that is, or whoever that is, rather. But again, if you've been through that, what's the problem? Again, you've had an experience that these people are just about to begin. You know, a 28-year-old woman has not lived a fulfilled life. She's not 50 yet. She has 22 more years to go. And they probably didn't even do the maths. So she's not even far off. This is exactly what I mean. It's why they're always so cynical. It's jealousy, it's envy, it's so many different things here. It's just such an absurd premise. Somehow this is always an issue. Really do not understand. And I get fucking tired of this crap, really. It's always a fucking old person doing it, and you see the same on social media. Literally, you go to anywhere that old people are dominant, including TikTok, which sadly they are on there, there's a lot of them. They just get so much, they give so much negative attention to things. They go to like Green Party or Lib Dem posts, say vote reform, and even then sometimes they argue, they even like dead names Zach Plansky, for example. Like, yes, he changed his name, who cares? For some reason only they care. It's just weird. Mabel seems to care. But yeah, literally, it's such a fucking petty thing. It just doesn't need to be a problem. It takes a change of like your worldview. Like, yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. In my case, it took me I think 5 or 6 years after college to realise that, and a few more to solidify what I believe to be true. and even then, my belief to be things to be true is so rooted in being objective rather than being subjective that it overtakes any opinion, and people have absolutely failed to argue against my position. I've seen people try, and they just haven't been able to. In fact, it's gone the opposite way. I've convinced them. And that's often why they fail. But again, it's trying to change that worldview. And if they don't, then, you know, you've fucking failed. what else is there even to say? This feels like a joke. But I suppose I learned this on a positive light because it was one thing I thought was very good. Most Critical also made another video, basically about a disabled gamer, paraplegic I believe, or paralysed. I forgot the term, sorry. He uses his mouth to play League of Legends and high elo, which is it's just really cool. I'm pretty sure I've shared the story before when I used to play Heroes of the Storm, and there was like a forum post, I think it was, about someone complaining about the levels of toxicity towards him because he had a physical disability and he didn't have any friends to play to keep it safe. The irony is that he was absolutely better at the game than a lot of the teammates in that. All the ones complaining about him, but you know, he could only play with one hand and he struggled to play with it because he had like a motor impairment, which for anyone unaware is basically your muscles that get impaired and he couldn't apply pressure or hold things above like 100 grams, basically barely unable to move. I think he even described it to me, he had like a special cutlery and have people feed him because he's literally just unable to do so normally. But it's like a lot of effort to even get that to work, to even get these, to get this scenario working. Like, I don't even describe it, but basically I played a few games with him and saved friends, and I think I've still got him on my Blizzard account actually. But yeah, like a lot of these issues are not accounted for with accessibility, which sucks, but at the same time, stuff like this, like the mouth controller, I forgot what it's called now, it's really useful. And there's even someone who is like with a charity called iGaze Girl, who I found through the Oxcast, who plays games with her eyes, which is incredible. But this is exactly what accessibility needs to be. It needs to accommodate people, regardless of their issues, like even if they have like nothing, just maybe their eyes, or maybe even their nose, like somehow. I think there needs to be a way to accommodate them and at a reasonable price, not like the bullshit in like the US where you have to pay like millions to get something. Yeah, I think there needs to be something done about that, but it's good to hear that someone is actually having success with this accessibility tool and doing very well at it. Again, I sort of hope that the friend I met in Heroes of the Storm is able to find and use something like that. It just would be a very interesting thing to see happen because, yeah, we need that accessibility regardless, and you never know, it might even hit you at one point and you'll be glad that it's out there. So if you don't sort of have this stuff, then you're kind of going to get screwed, aren't you? But this is the other thing as well, I have to mention this. I think a lot of the times why you see so many talented people with these like missing limbs and stuff is because some people are just really big sympathisers, like I get it in a way. But other times they make do with what they got. And it's a similar situation to what I'm in with my mental health. And I'm making do with what I've got. And you don't have any other way around it. That's literally the only way to do it. But again, you just get used to it, you start to find methods and strategies, and that just becomes the norm. And you keep at it as well, and it works. The same way I'm making my music with like the timing issues. I make it by slicing it all up whenever I can. If I can't sync it in one take, I'll sync it with the cut tool. Although I don't need to figure out how to precisely cut it a bit better. Not a big deal anyway. It's about the same sort of timing anyway, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, don't have anything else to add. So let's move on. Well, I think this is a long time coming. This will be the last topic as well for this podcast. But Final Fantasy XIV will be the last ever MMO I play until we get one of two or both. So yeah, basically, I just have a big hatred for MMOs in general, just because of the grindy nature of them. And people say well, why do you play then? It's grindy. Because it's fucking fun. That's why. It's not the grind that I enjoy. It's the parts in between, the gameplay. Obviously, when there's actually gameplay, it's not just mindless grinding. So obviously in Final Fantasy XIV's case, it's like duties, it's questing, it's sometimes map farming can be interesting. But it's when you're really engaged in the game that it feels like a game, rather than an MMO. And honestly, that's where it should have been anyway. But having come from World of Warcraft and having had opinions about that, mainly dislikes, I wasn't very inspired by it anyway. So it became more of an issue for me. And Classic WoW, well, actually just vanilla, as it was back then, because I didn't even know that it was a one of those servers. But I played that, and it was not a great experience. I didn't really like it that much either, even though I was playing with a friend who introduced me to it. But I just didn't enjoy it that much. I said enough was enough, and I got tired of it, and it being a grind like that was just a major ass, really. It's just a major issue. So I never really got on with it, to be fair. That's what that noise was. I kept hearing banging for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, Final Fantasy XIV was definitely a much better experience, and in a way that I see it positively, even despite the grindy nature of it being one of the big criticisms, and also how outdated some parts of it are. But I still enjoy it regardless. I still think there's parts to it that are just really fun and really undeniable that I keep my subscription going all these months later. It's almost been 2 years now, I think, since I've been playing it non-stop. It says 960 days or so on the screen, so maybe even longer. That's 3 years. But man, it is an experience. But the reason why it will be one of the last I ever play is because I want to play other games. Very simply. I don't want to be just tied to Final Fantasy XIV. And it is an issue in itself. That is a thing. I just think it could do better in how it respects your time. And yet it doesn't. Even though I've lowered it, the only thing I can't do, can't change, is the bloody, the quests. And the quests are kind of long sometimes, and it's really annoying. I just want to get these done. I want to enjoy them too. But that's it really. There isn't much else. If I was to ever play another MMO, I said one of two or two of two, it would have to be one of these things. It would have to be a Pokemon MMO, which I did see there was a fan game of, and very interesting to see that. I would find it kind of fascinating, but there is also a StarCraft MMO, and the only game that'll get me to play a Blizzard game again, even though I don't really like Blizzard at all. It would get me interested. I would certainly like it. I think that a StarCraft game would be huge today, because it is kind of like a sci-fi thing, and it already has like a good foundation. It's got like 2 fucking alien races and a human race. Got a very interesting cast of characters, like you can forget Tychus, and Kerrigan as well, and Abatha. Abatha's very interesting. Yeah, it's got like such interesting characters, and I think it's got potential there. It's just an interesting world, and I just think it would be great to see the series get a game of its own. If not like a game, then an MMO, like I previously teased at Blizzard. So yeah, these are the last MMOs I'll probably ever play. So there's like something more appealing as like an MMO idea. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What other games would suit an MMO? Borderlands maybe, but kind of already is one to an extent. I don't know. Anyway, that's about it. So thanks for listening. See everyone tomorrow. Hey, tomorrow. Ain't gonna be a tomorrow.